For more than 40 years, the Clash was held on the Daytona Oval. Now, this was kind of a prestigious race. You had to have won a pole the year before and been one of the top drivers. Towards the end of the 2010s, though, that kind of changed. They expanded the eligibility where they just wanted more people in the race, right? If you had made the playoffs, you were in. If you had won at Daytona before, you were in. And it kind of lost what made it special, and it turned into a wreck fest. After Eric Jones managed to win in this wrecked bucket of they decided to move off the oval and try the road course out, but again, it was just missing something. It wasn't anything special. Some way, somehow, NASCAR executives came up with the idea of building a racetrack inside the LA Coliseum, which is exactly what they did for the 2022 Clash to start off the Gen 7 era. Due to the small track size, they changed the format up. There was no prior eligibility. Everyone showed up, and they were going to have heat races to decide who was going to race in the first ever Clash at the Coliseum. And with that, 13 drivers DNQ'd for the first ever Clash. Now, there's a couple names that jump out at you on this list, and then also a few that make you say, what? I forgot Ty Dillon even ran in the 42 car. Does anybody? Other than him getting absolutely bodied by the Hendrick R&D brake package at Indianapolis, is there anything you can remember him doing in that car? Anyway, some of the notable DNQs were Austin Cindric, who was replacing Brad Keselowski, who had gone over to Roush Fenway Racing and renamed it Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing over this offseason. It was a big deal that both those RFK cars missed the field. Other notables were Alex Bowman in a Hendrick car, ouch, and again, Landon Castle in the 77. Does anyone even remember that happening? For the 2023 version of the Clash, they increased the field size by a few cars. I imagine a few of the big name drivers who missed the previous year complained to NASCAR, cough, Hendrick, cough. And there were only 9 DNQs in 2023. Again, Keselowski and Buescher both failed to make the race. Well, nothing else really jumps out at you. Ty Dillon was in another car this year. He was in the 77 and also failed to make the race, but again, this is a pretty average DNQ list for something like this. No big shockers other than the 2 RFK cars. After realizing that 27 cars was probably too many to have on the small LA Coliseum, they went back to the original format of 23 cars for 2024. But this time around, they didn't have any heat races due to weather, so they went by qualifying speed. Some big names also ended up missing this one. Josh Berry, who was stepping in for Kevin Harvick, Christopher Bell, who was in the championship for the previous year, Chris Buescher again. Can this guy even make this race? Enough about who DNQ'd, though. I wanted to talk about the drivers who made every single race. It's a small list. There's only a few guys who did it. Kyle Larson made all 3. Surprisingly, Justin Haley made all 3, and he did it for a number of different teams. He was with the Colleague 31, and then he was with Rick Ware Racing in the 51. So pretty impressive that he's on this list. Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin. Ryan Blaney made all 3 races, but it should be mentioned that he fell back on his points one year. They always had a rule that the top driver in points who didn't make it in the heat races got to enter the race. Chase Briscoe made all 3. Joey Logano, who won the first ever Clash. Bubba Wallace with a perfect 3 for 3. William Byron, Tyler Reddick. I wanted to put Truex on this list because he did make all 3, but there is an asterisk there. He is not entering the 2025 Clash. As of the time of recording this could always change, but I put the 56 there because, he's going to be running Daytona. He deserves it. Surprisingly, Ryan Preece has made all 3 versions, and he even did it in a Rick Ware car the first year in 2022, I believe, which is also impressive. And last but not least, we have Michael McDowell. There were also a couple guys I wanted to touch on here who made every attempt that they took at the Clash, but haven't ran in all 3. So first up is Kevin Harvick. He went 2 for 2. Of course, he retired after the 2023 season. Noah Gragson made it both years he entered, which in that legacy car is kind of impressive. AJ Allmendinger's 2 for 2. Ty Gibbs is 2 for 2 after entering the Cup Series in 2023. Cole Custer made it in his one and only attempt in 2022. And John Hunter Nemechek made it last year in his first try. So there also have perfect streaks, but it's not 3 for 3, so I don't really count it. So looking at a more broad number of DNQs on a DNQ list, we got Chris Buescher at the top, who has missed all 3 attempts. Corey LaJoie has missed 2 races. Again, he has not entered this year, but I gave him the 0-1 since he's entering Daytona. Austin Cindric has missed twice. In fact, the only time he made it was in 2023 when he could fall back on his points from 2022. Keselowski has 2 misses. Ty Dillon has missed both of his attempts. He did not try to run the Clash last year, so he has never made the race. Cody Ware has 2 misses. Harrison Burton with 2 misses. And BJ McLeod with 2 misses. Again, he is not planning on enter. And then there are a handful of drivers who have DNQ'd once, so I'm just going to go over this pretty quickly. Chastain, Dillon, Almirola. Again, Almirola is not entered in this year's Clash. And then a couple guys who missed for Rick Ware, JJ Yaley, Kaz Grala. Neither of them are entered this year. Josh Williams missed last year in his first attempt. Of course, we already talked about Bell missing the race. Josh Berry is 0 for 1. Daniel Hemrick also DNQ'd in 2024. 2 of the 3 front row motorsports drivers have failed to make the race at one point or another. Eric Jones with a miss. I wanted to put Kurt Busch on him just so we can talk about Kurt Busch. He did miss the race in 2022, his only attempt. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., we talked about Alex Bowman. Then again, Landon Castle, who is not entered in the race this year. Carson Hocevar missed last year, and Daniel Suarez has 1 miss. Why am I talking about all these DNQs? Well, it's because I wanted to bring up a point that if you DNQ for the Clash, you have a very small chance of making the playoffs. In fact, exactly 3 guys each year have failed to make the Clash, but have gone on to make the playoffs. In 2022, it was Ross Chastain, who went on to the Final Four, had a great season, Austin Cindric, who ended up winning the Daytona 500 the next week, and Alex Bowman. In 2023, both RFK cars missed the Clash but made the playoffs, which I thought was interesting. And then, of course, another Daytona 500 winner in Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 2024 saw Austin Cindric miss the Clash but make the playoffs. And he kind of made the playoffs at the expense of Bell, who had a problem at Gateway, but that's neither here nor there. And then Harrison Burton missed the Clash and kind of snuck his way in with the Daytona win. So a couple fluke winners in 2024 alongside Christopher Bell. Now, what does it mean to win your heat race? Is that important? Well, on the tons of data I have, they didn't run the heat races in 2024 because of weather. If you win your heat, you're either going to make the playoffs, you have a 75% chance of making the playoffs, or you're going to finish 22nd in points. It's irrefutable. Look at the graphic. As we transition from the LA Coliseum to the Bowman Gray Stadium, it's important to start your season off with a good run here. As you just saw, if you win your heat race, you're probably going to make the playoffs, and if you miss the Clash entirely, you have a small chance of coming back and getting to the top 16. Thanks for watching.